blessing. Kahu Klama Karagan.
Aloha, greetings. Aloha. Welcome to Manoa Valley. From the Pali of Luahine, the Kaio Waikiki, oh cherished blossoms here today. We greet you, aloha, to the corporeal and the unseen hosts that join us today. I'd like to leave you with a blessing, inspiration, words that put us all together. It's a prayer we use for when we're asking for clarity of vision. It states that as the heavens roll above, so too does the earth turn. There in the realm of the celestial is a place of dwelling where shines a light in fullness of understanding. There is a narrow passageway through which we travel. And it's very troublesome at times. But that's the door upon which we knock. For we are all here, not yet fully formed, not fully developed. Just as the rooster crows, we are but tiny chicks that peep, peep, peep. Just as a tree will branch, we are still yet tiny sprouts, yet to unroll and unravel. In a time when there is po uli uli po vehi vehi, when there is not clear light, so we are still feeling our way around. Po vehi vehi, where we kind of know what it's supposed to look like, but we have yet to clarify the picture. We'll be asking that all restrictions be lifted, that it be shared, that knowledge can be granted, wisdom and expertise. Does that sound about right? Good. So the pulley goes. The war will war the war made a the war made a day, a war made a gamay, a war made a war made a law. Daily the book, daily no, let it be open, let it be free.
Mahalo very much, Kahu. And I like the description of us all as young sprouts. All right, everybody, welcome. Governor David Ige, Senator Willis Sparrow, our invaluable partners, our great sponsors, and of course everyone here, assorted geeks and young sprouts. Thank you for coming to the second annual Hawaii Annual Code Challenge. So to kick things off today, I did want to first introduce our great host of this incredible institution, the East-West Center. He has been the 11th chief executive of this great organization from the start of this year, but he is no stranger to its work. He's a former grantee, a former staff member, but he spent decades in Asia, including serving as the president of the American Chamber of Commerce in Hong Kong. And we are very lucky to have him here today. Please welcome Dr. Richard Volsbeck.
Good morning and aloha. It is a very special occasion today and an opportunity to have this opportunity for me to thank all of you for making time on a weekend to come to this event. I think you will be thoroughly satisfied with what you hear, what you are able to do, and what you can plan to do in the coming month. A special thanks, really, I think, to our governor for having the insight to establish this activity a year ago. So this is the second annual event. We know that in a leadership position, you can have an idea, but it takes lots and lots of backup of smart people surrounding you to implement and bring this forward. And so those of you who are involved in the planning, in the sponsorship, in the germination of this project going forward, I offer my hearty thanks and wish you fair winds and following seas as you continue with this activity for the years ahead as well. It's really fitting that this event should take place at the East-West Center. Those of you who came in on East-West Road, you may have noticed on the right with us on our corner, the name of the East-West Center is in full from the legislation that established us in 1960. The original name, shortened to the East-West Center, is the Center for Cultural and Technical Interchange between East and West. And I would say in the 21st century, going forward, as we approach our 60th year, that some redefinitions of those terms are in order. And your presence here is part of that redefinition. First of all, on the cultural side, for almost 60 years, we have run education, professional development, training, and research programs across cultures, across nationalities, simultaneously groups together, bring together cultures and nationalities together in active programs trying to deliver results. But I would suggest, and this is an indication today of what the change in cross-cultural activity really indicates. Because we know as practitioners trying to get things done, getting things successful, not just talking about it, but bringing people together to act, and act effectively, that it often, in most cases, requires cross-sectoral cooperation. Government, business, media, unions, military, every sector you can think of, working together on specific issues to get them done. And now any sector you may be in, whether it's government or business or academics, we know each has their own vocabulary, their own culture, their own acronyms, and sometimes it's very difficult to perceive what that other culture, business sector, or whatever sector is thinking. And yet to be successful, we have to cross those boundaries. So today we have an event inspired by the government to achieve ends for services to the people of Hawaii, but in engaging media, business, and other sectors together to try to bridge those cultural gaps to address issues that are pertinent to our city, our state, and it's most important to the people that live here. On the technical side, back in 1960 when we were formed, we responded to requests in the Asia-Pacific region for needs that the East-West Center could help deliver in our training and professional development, capacity building activities. 1960, that meant training outboard motor mechanics in the Pacific Islands. It meant training anesthesiologists in Thailand. It even meant training hairdressers in Fiji, who for some program wanted to build up that sector in the Pacific Islands. We did it. But over the years, the technology part has kind of drifted beneath the radar a bit at the East-West Center. But it is back. Because we know now that whatever sector you're a part of, social media, high technology, high tech, has not only made new opportunities available, but have transformed every process that we do. The way we communicate, B2B, B2C, C2C, whatever it may be, high tech is involved. It's a huge opportunity, but also a huge challenge. When I was still in Hong Kong, I was deeply involved with our high-tech community, both in Hong Kong and Shenzhen, looking at the smart city development and how getting a city in a cloud can enable all kinds of apps to be developed, not only for e-government, but for e-commerce, for e-services. We are on the cusp of that development here in Hawaii. We can thank our governor for starting the ball rolling on this, but really to make the momentum become real and effective, efficient, and true service to our community requires you. And one of the great things about high tech, especially when you get to the cloud and sensor technology and so forth, it enables the youth to be as engaged, if not more so, than the adults in this activity. Because you have an advantage. We heard about sprouts on the way before. Unfortunately, I could use some sprouts in different contexts. But seriously, the sprouts that we are facing up now, the sun is out, the rain is hitting, that we need to grow the high-tech capabilities of this whole community. And I think our youth will be the leaders, not the sole proprietors, but the leaders in this activity. So as I look across this room, I am inspired by what I see. I think you should look forward to a dynamic time of what this particular program indicates. But I would suggest to you, it's just the beginnings of what we have to do as a state to make this place not only a model state of e-commerce, e-government, e-services, but a model that we can transfer to our friends in the Asia-Pacific region. And I think that certainly the East-West Center, working with the state and other organizations in this city, will look forward to being part of that activity. So I commend you today in your activity. Enjoy, learn, network, but more importantly, remember the fixation of the goal: better services for everyone. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Volstead. And certainly I like what he said about the need for cross-sector cooperation, whether it's outboard motor mechanics or social media influencers. Where's Joy? Anyway, but of course one of the key partners and one of the key sectors in that is government, so I'd like to move there for our next speaker. To do that, I'd like to introduce Forbes Magazine's, one of Forbes Magazine's top 10 most handsome Chief Information Officers from the States, also known as the Chief Innovation Officer. He has a big background in bringing change to large enterprises, but I don't think you can get an enterprise much larger than a state government. So please welcome Todd Nakaboy.
Thank you for that great introduction, Ryan. Ryan calls me handsome, Bert calls me old. I don't know what they have against me, but wow, what a turnout. Are you guys excited for today? Yeah. I said, are you excited for today? All right. It's exciting for me, and I know for the governor, to see so many of you that want to get involved in solving problems or solving challenges for the state. Right? It's an awesome event. I'm so glad that you guys are here. How many of you were here last year? Raise your hand. All right. Lots of newbies, lots of old guys still here. It's going to be a great event. I'm happy to report on a couple of proof of concepts that happened last year. So there are two of them that I'd like to talk about specifically that were launched at HAC last year and are going to be being pushed into production. One of those is the Hawaii Agriculture and Food Products website. That'll be launched next week. A lot of the innovative ideas that were spawned through the Ag Challenge last year are being incorporated into their new website. And one of the HAC winners last year, Team Locomoco, through a lot of their collaborative efforts and a lot of the things that they pushed in their challenge, we're pushing that app forward into production in the next few weeks. So, there are opportunities. There's, I think, 3 other apps that we're going to push into production over the next few months. So, these ideas, keep them coming. They're excellent challenges, and they're great ways to help us as government solve the challenges that we're facing. There's a couple people that I'd like to thank specifically for helping put this event together. Obviously, Bert and Ryan and Bert specifically from Hawaiian Open Data. I'd like to thank two of the guys that helped put a lot of these things together, that put a lot of effort into this hackathon, as well as Russell Chin and Jason Soil from DevLeague. So thank you guys. And all of our department sponsors. I know some of them are nervous about presenting to such a large group. We've tried to help them get their pitches ready because they have to be excited and try to get you to come work on their pitches. So thank you for taking the challenge and stepping up to do that. And I'd also like to thank my team from the Office of Enterprise Technology Services and the volunteers that are on the committee. Without these guys, none of this is possible. Like Ryan and Bert say, I'm just a pretty face that stands in front and talks. They're the guys that do a lot of the work. With that being said, we are again honored to have Governor David Ige. This was his idea. If you haven't heard the story on how this was spawned, he and I were at the AT&T hackathon, and he turned to me and said, hey Todd, this would be a great event if we could do it for the entire state. And about 4 months later, we had our first annual, and now we're at our second. So with that, I'd like to introduce Governor David Ige.
Aloha. Aloha. So, how many of you were here again last year? Can I just see that show of hands? Thank you so much. Remember, I told you guys last year to remember because that was the inaugural, and clearly the hack will change the world. So thank you very much for being here. I just wanted to, wait, I have to organize my notes. Sorry, I went to an iPad before, and then it crashed on me in the middle of my speech, so I just always after that made sure that I had my notes. I just wanted to start by thanking Richard Volstick for hosting. Isn't this an upgrade from last year for those of you who are here? Clearly, as I told you last year, remember that you were there because it was the first inaugural. We're back here a year later, but what an upgrade. So thank you very much, Richard. This truly is an international organization and really a platform for East and West exchange and interchange. And clearly, and I just wanted to remind all of you who might not be aware, 11 months ago, President Barack Obama stood on this stage, so all of you state presenters, think about that. Stood on this stage and announced the expansion of Papahanaumokuakea to the world. So that's the environment that we're here. I do believe the hackathon is an important event because it allows us to change the internal look of data and the way that our agencies do two things about how they view the data that they have to collect as part of the jobs that they do, but most importantly about how they can engage the public in a very different way. And you are all the public for this activity that we want to engage you. We want to invite you to embrace the challenges that will be presented in the next few minutes, that our agencies, after experiencing the success of last year, have really put together the challenges that will be presented. And they were so excited because of all of your work, for those of you who are here, and the quality of the products and ideas that resulted from last year's hackathon really increased the level of interest, the participation by the state agencies this year. So, their involvement, their challenge, really inspired by last year's participation. I just wanted to thank Todd and all of the sponsors and the East-West Center for really putting together this challenge. I'm excited about the energy. I'm a self-taught hacker and coder. I learned to code in the 10th grade when I was at Pearl City High School. I was coding for the Atari 800 on the 6502 microprocessor, 8-bit. And just tell you where we are. The big battle in the tech industry was about the 6502 and this company that was building this Intel 8008 processor. Obviously, we know today who won, but at that time, the 6502 was truly the next generation of processors and really had envisioned changing the world of computing and personal computing. We all know who won today, but it certainly was an exciting time to be a hacker. So I just wanted to thank you for being here. Thank Todd and his team, Bert and Ryan. Thank you so much for your commitment to encourage and increase participation on all fronts. I wanted to thank Russell and Jason at Dev League. Thanks for your commitment to spreading the gospel of coding. I think it's important to our community. I think it's important to the state of Hawaii. And I just finally wanted to thank all the sponsors for being part of this effort. You know, we can't do it without you. It provides a little real inspiration to all these hackers who are here helping to solve the state's challenges in a really, really constructive and important way. So mahalo, best of luck. I look forward to the next month of hacks and challenges. Mahalo.
Thank you very much, Governor. I love showing off that geek cred. He's one of us. He's self-declared. He did it on live television last week. I did, I guess, neglect to introduce myself, and I appreciate your acknowledgement, Governor. I'm Ryan. I am a frequent partner in crime with Bert, and I'm happy to say that among the many hats I wear, I'm really proud of one, which is the first president of the Bert Lum fan club. I'm happy to announce today that we've gotten our charter. He approved it. All of you who backed our Kickstarter will get your rewards soon. Todd, I think you were the only one with the boxers, so we'll get that to you. All right. Well, we definitely want to get to the program quickly, so I'd like to introduce someone who is already acknowledged, certainly someone who, with Russell Chang, have played a very important part in the grassroots part of this great challenge that we have before us. He is the co-founder. Oh.
We have a little change of plans here.
Okay. All right. So, Todd? All right. Hey, you know what? I couldn't get enough of him, so I'm sure you can't get enough of him. Todd Hasselberg.
You know I do jiu-jitsu, right? So, we'd like to introduce a special guest that is from Hawaii. He was born and raised here. After the success of last year's hack, we received a lot of national interest. And I want to invite up to the podium real fast, Mr. Miller Abel, who's a principal technologist at the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, to say a few words.
Greetings, everyone. This is really an incredible turnout. When I first talked to Todd and to the governor about this, I thought, oh, this is going to be a little thing. They're going to get together for the weekend, do some coding. But they had to stop advertising for it because it's full. Well, listen, I wanted to say a couple of remarks just about the Gates Foundation in general. So we have all the work that we do at the Gates Foundation is guided by the principle that all lives have equal value. And one of the important things about that work is that we ensure that the government really does serve the needs of the people. And oftentimes the services that we depend on were established and were essentially mechanized back in the day when we didn't have computers and we didn't have a lot of the access that we have now to digital technology. And the community that you have here today essentially is a mix of people that were born digital and those that have been around for a while. So getting this mix to actually occur is really fantastic. We have a project similar to this, and I put some cards on your chair about this. It's called the RegTech for Regulators Accelerator. And it's an international program that we're doing that allows us to go with the governments and with the community within their markets to think about how can the financial regulators actually meet the fintech community and really embrace change. And as we were developing that program and I learned about HACT, I saw so many similarities. It made sense to me that we would come and be part of this, primarily for us to learn from you as to how this works and how we can improve our own program. But that's an invitation there on your seat to become involved in that international work as well, outside of what we do here. I want to get as quick as we can to the program, so I'd say only one more thing, which is that as I'm from Hawaii, it's fantastic to see this kind of activity now underway here. And that while the Gates Foundation's work is primarily international, of course, we're here in the U.S., and so we care deeply about how the U.S. actually performs and how it improves itself and its lives of its citizens. So thank you very much, and thank you all for your attention.
Thank you very much. Even a startup that I'm involved with has done some work with the Gates Foundation, and it does have a great mission. All right, well, I hope you enjoyed the skit that Bert and I just did. We understand that the state presenters are very nervous, and we want to set the bar as low as possible to do very well. With that said, I would now like to bring up he with the most righteous beard in Hawaii, possibly the Pacific Rim. Please welcome from Devly, Jason Sewell.
Woo! Hey, how's it going?
Hi, all right.
Wow. This is tough. I don't ever plan talks until I get here and kind of fill out the room. To kind of follow up all of the speakers that just came before me is just like nerve shattering. So I'm gonna try to keep together, but no, there's a lot of pressure. No worries. Let's do this. It's kind of funny. The last time I was in this room was as a student at UH. I actually was. I worked for the International Pacific Research Center over in the Post Building, and I was wiring up laptops here for talks, for guest speakers. But the reason I bring that up is that was my first job in tech, and it was an opportunity, and so I worked hard. I was very thankful to have it. Just like I'm very thankful to be here today. And so, well, actually, before I go on, I want to say thanks before I get into anything else. But I really want to thank the Governor Ige, for coming up with that idea and throwing it on Todd's plate. I want to thank Todd Nakapui and the ETS team. I really want to thank Bert. Bert has put in an insane amount of work to get this off the ground and to make an event like this. So, let's get yeah, and it's just an honor. So thank you for having us here. In the spirit of kind of being in the East-West Center and kind of what you said about training and kind of what this place has meant. The reason I talk about kind of my start and those things is that Devly, we're essentially what's turned into a career transitioning workforce development kind of entity. So for anybody that's not familiar, Devly is we're a coding boot camp, and essentially we're workforce development and what really Devly started as was how do we get people that opportunity, right? That first start, that career start, and people that are capable and knowledgeable and hardworking, and are willing to put in the time and effort and get them kind of launched, And so, so this was kind of my, part of my launching pad. We've seen a lot of, our students come through, and always, a pleasure to see them get their start and watch their trajectory. We have a bunch of them here tonight, or today. Team Loco Moco got, recognized earlier that they put in a lot of hard work last year. So, but yeah, it's hard in life to get that first opportunity, and so, for those of you that are students, kind of like we said, the students are the future. The youth are the future. The people just getting their career start, you are the future. and we have a lot of problems to solve. And so, this is an opportunity to, to make a difference. One of the reasons that we at Devly wanted to get involved in this, and we're very happy when we were approached with the opportunity, was really when we started. It was just how do we kind of bring community together and do something good, and not just have it be about education, but go beyond that and care about people and give them an opportunity and go the extra mile and set them up for success. And really, this is a groundbreaking event. I think for those of you that are in tech here in Hawaii, we always kind of wear that stigma that we're behind, right? We're 5 years behind, we're 10 years behind, we're not doing the latest and greatest. We have legacy technology, but nowhere else in the country has an event like this. We are leading in this kind of civic movement of coming together and helping the state. So to summarize, I would just like to, everybody kind of keep that in mind. This isn't about winning necessarily. This isn't about, doing work that's not appreciated. It's about making a difference in the place that we live together and helping together as, citizens and government improve the place that we call home. So again, thank you. Huge honor, and let's make it a good one. Thank you.
Thank you, Jason. Again, I'd like to recognize some special guests. We have, of course, Governor David Ige, Senator Willis Sparrow, and Representative Mark Nakashima, as well as many other people that we're excited to have here to watch. Very briefly, when Bert, again, one of the brainchilds of this entire movement, first engaged and found a partner inside the city to do something called Civic Accelerator here on the university campus. Back then it was good ideas that were on the mainland that maybe we could bring here already built and find a solution here that it could fit. Like instead of adopting a fire hydrant, let's adopt sirens for tsunami. And I feel that it's fantastic that we've come so far in that short time. So instead of having a solution and looking for a problem, we are now going to be able to address actual problems, challenges that our government faces, and build the solutions just for them here. So to get things started, we are now going to have our presentations from the departments. They have 5 minutes each. Give them big rounds of applause. And we're going to start with, we have Dr. Roger Brewer. He's a senior environmental scientist over at the Department of Health.
Extra seconds. I'd say they put the worst for first, probably. I'm the exact opposite of Governor Ige. I took Fortran in undergrad school in the 1980s, and the teacher gave me I think a C out of mostly pity. I promised that I would never try to attempt a major in computer science. None of my programs worked. I have no idea why. Just for the record, they couldn't figure out either. For the other record, I have a twin brother who's a computer programmer. So it's not just an age issue. What I want to talk about today, really, it's something that Governor Ige brought together up front, is how do we connect people like me, science, with the new age, the IT age. And that's definitely our biggest challenge facing the future. So I'm a senior scientist with the Department of Health. I've been working here for the last 25 years. I've wandered around the world in between. I'm still back here. I have no idea what metadata are. I barely know what megabytes are, and I kind of get gigabytes because that's when I have trouble with my data plan on my cell phone. So with Lynn Bailey, I have her down as technical development. She's my translator. She's also an environmental scientist, but she understands all this stuff. She's the one that kind of drugged me into this, to be honest. So we got to get you up into the 21st century of the world. So I want to go through some examples, just to give you an examples of what we do, some of the challenges we faced in the past, especially when I first got started in the 1990s, and how we adjusted and modified, came up with new ideas for that, and then how challenges we're facing in the future. So I like examples. I'm a picture guy, kind of visual. So here's an example of a project we just recently worked on, Symphony Park, right across Blaisdell Auditorium. A lot of you recognize this. Now when you see this, you might see new buildings, the youngsters here, the new age coming. When I look at this, I see history. In the back, the very Mackay side, I know that's where the old incinerator was in the 1930s for the city. A lot of lead contamination there. When you dig in the dirt, you gotta be careful. Starbucks on Ward Avenue, dig down there, you're looking to hit gasoline. Used to be a gas station. If you go over to the right-hand side, just a few blocks, you dig down bottles, lead, wood and stuff. That's the old city dump from the late 1800s, early 1900s. More lead contamination, other things. Symphony Park used to be an auto works facility. Big area, about 3 or 4 acres. So there, what do you worry about with those kind of places for petroleum contamination and such? So when you start building something like this, it's critical you understand this ahead of time for the developer. You have got to know this ahead of time. We realized problems at Symphony Park in the 1990s. They dug out half the site, thought they were done. Were they? The problem with these huge developments, and people are asking, how does what I do affect you? Is just delays in any kind of these developments can be catastrophic for all of us, not just the developers building the buildings. But think about it, you've got bankers and financiers giving their money toward this. Dozens and dozens of small companies that are, including IT companies, that are going to wire this building. They're lined up with contracts. They're all ready to go. Hundreds of workers. They're relying on this for their job. You're dealing with electric company, sewer company, dealing with traffic flow around here during construction. So when these projects get started, they have to go. You can't stop them. You've got all these permits and people in place to go. That's the biggest challenge that we've had. Well, sometimes there are unwelcome surprises when they start working on Symphony Park, crossing Blaisdell Auditorium. Very early in the process, luckily, archaeologists were out there digging their trenches, looking for EV and such, and the vapors coming out of the ground were so bad they had to leave. They completely missed the Malka side of the property. It used to be a dry cleaner there. Guess what they did back in the 1940s and 50s with waste dry cleaning? Saw it out the back door. Almost shut the entire project down. $100 million, hundreds of workers involved. And there was significant concern about the safety of the workers in the future. So how do we deal with things like that? Well, back in the early 1990s, we had the same problem. Here's how you deal with that. You get a bunch of experts together, like me and ecologists and toxicologists. They get together, think about the problems there. They write up a draft report and ideas. How big a problem is it? What do we need to do? They send it to the state. The state reviews it, makes comments. It goes back to them. They finish the report. Average time to complete the project, 1.5 years to assess the risk. So this project would have been shut down if they'd actually built on this property like they planned to back in the 1990s. All these people, including me, of course, we didn't have IT back then, would have been out of luck. So how do we deal with that? What we did early in the 1990s, and I can use Excel. I'm quite proud of that. That's the extent of my IT abilities. So what we did in the 1990s, working with EPA and other people, was came up with an Excel-based surfer, as we call it. And back then we were calling these expert systems. So what we did is the data tables on the right are everything that I and hundreds of people know about how to address contamination problems like this and assess risk and get cleaned up. And then we asked, in the input, we asked the users 4 simple questions. What's the land going to be used for? Is the groundwater used for drinking water? Are you nearby any aquatic habitat, streams and beaches? Simple questions like that. What kind of contaminant are you looking for? What's the concentration in air, soil, and water? They input that into this surfer program. It goes into this surfer compiler we put together, which is will be a nightmare for anyone who developed Excel. They'd be horrified at what we did, I think, or really proud. And then it generates a summary report. So boom, we went from 1.5 years to minutes in assessing what the problem is at a site, if you did it right. So that's the problem. We also have to generate and update this on a regular basis. So here's all these issues. So, I might skip through that. These are all the issues that are incorporated into that surfer. I'm not going to even attempt to go into the details behind that. This is the group of experts we talked to. Well, that was great for its time. Back on the left-hand side there, we were cruising down the highway in our Model T in the 1990s, and things were looking pretty good. In the 2010s, we got a big traffic jam behind us again because we can't make that leap. There's problems with the Excel-based surfer. You can only input 1 chemical at a time. It causes a lot of mistakes. Generating these auto reports doesn't work. People don't use them. They make mistakes in their reports. And again, we get this delay. So it causes a lot of unnecessary delays and all these problems I talked about. Who's in this traffic jam here? We're up front, you got the developers, the bankers. Behind them, you got the construction workers. Behind them, you got the people who are going to move into their apartments, who sold their old place, and now they have no place to live. Same thing with the businesses. Behind them, you got you folks, who are all these small businesses who have projects lined up to do this. It's moving along. So that's it. Here's my challenge. Is bring me into the 21st century. So the problem is the Model T, that's the surfer, that's the science. You know, that thing is so complex. There's dozens of models we've been working on for 20 years. You can't reprogram it. It's just, I don't think it's going to happen anytime soon. We need somebody to hitch us to a trailer and get us down the road and pull us along. So I'm learning all these new terms like bolt-on. I think what we need, in my opinion, I don't know, is a bolt-on to our surfer. And it would be simple. You answer the same questions that we ask up front. You allow us to put in lots of chemicals, as many as we want ideally. And I want to be able to hit a button that says generate report. And I want a PDF file, and I want to stick it in my report to let the regulators look at, and there's no problems in it. You know, how you do this, I have no idea. So, talk to Lynn, maybe talk to my brother. We also need to be able to update in the future. So I have to take the Model T. You need to be able to re-hitch your app to it and bring us up into the future. So think about that. That's the challenge. And look forward to working with you. I would say we've got a few of these going. One's in California. The next one's going to be in China. I've actually worked with the Chinese Academy of Sciences to develop something like this in China. I spent a month and a half there last fall. It's all about apps. I was completely lost. Thank you.
We have about 1 minute for questions. Anybody have a question? All right.
Okay, so the surfer program that you're talking about, is it open source, is it proprietary?
No, it's completely open source.
Okay.
So,
I guess what is the language of implementation?
Excel. I told you, I couldn't do Fortran. But there's a lot of models attached to it, that EPA models and others that we just can't get away from. Reprogram we use.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, good question. Thanks.
Poor Bert, now he's checking with me every time I step up here to make sure I get it right. All right. Thank you very much, Dr. Brewer. We would like to introduce our next challenge. I'd like to bring up to the stage Toby Lowe, Account Manager at BMC, one of our valued sponsors.
Aloha, fellow young sprouts. Great term, I love it. I want to thank everybody in the room. I want to welcome Governor Ige. I want to thank Bert, Todd, and Mandy for setting this event together. My name is Toby Lowe. As a gentleman had mentioned, I represent BMC Software. We're out of Houston, Texas. 36-year-old company. To my left, if you folks care to learn more, I've got my team, John Ambrose, JD Ross, and Mr. Dan Livingston over there. So please come see us if you would like to learn more about us. First of all, we're honored to sponsor Hack 17, the Wine Annual Code Challenge, because we care to support the local talent and keep the IT folks on the island versus importing from the mainland. Well, without too much further ado, I would like to introduce Mr. Tiger Lee. He's the Information Systems and Record Manager with the Office of Hawaiian Affairs. And his challenge is to enhance grant data management to allow greater opportunity for public use and access. Mr. Tiger Lee, please join me up on stage. Mahalo. Good luck to Mr. Tiger Lee and also to the fellow coders here today.
Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
Morning. My name is Tiger Lee. I'm IT Manager with the Office of Hawaiian Affairs. I'm very honored to present our challenge of the year. A little bit about OHA. OHA is a state agency for the betterment of Native Hawaiians. We are governed by 9 elected trustees from Long Island, and we gave away close to $10 million of grants every year for housing, education, and health, and other strategic priorities. Fiscal year 2013 to 16, we gave close to $36 million on all the OHA strategic priorities. I want to spend a little bit more time on this grants table. So we have date, we have grants type, like community grants, Board of Trustee initiatives, and sponsorship. Then we have a grantee. We have a project description, how much we give, and the location of the service. Then according to strategic priorities. There's how many people this project served, and among them, how many Native Hawaiians is served. And the grant status is closed or open. The data itself can be downloadable in oha.org/grants. Just be aware of that. This table is not well normalized, so you will have to figure out how to generate the dimensions, the facts. This is an example of the grant table. So in 2013, University of Hawaii get $90,000 to help Native Hawaiian undergraduate students for the internship program. And we have 26 beneficiaries. So with the table itself, it gives a lot of information, but it cannot generate the trend analysis, cannot break down by location, by grantees. So this comes to our challenge. As Governor Ige said, we want to build our government more transparent. So you will help us to build this report for general public to see how we issue the grants, how effect the grants work. And for the grant applicants, actually you can be one too. If you are Native Hawaiian or you work for Native Hawaiians, you are welcome to apply our grants. For the trustees and auditors as well, so they can see the data clearly in the different angle. Some of the requirements, so need to be filtered by location, strategic priority, grantee, and date. And the second one is very important too. We want to be drilled down or slice and dice to the categories. Need to be graphically and be able to export to other formats. Need to be dynamic, portable, and lastly, is most important, has to be open source based. We don't want Excel, we don't want SharePoint. Here's an example we generated in SharePoint. It's in-house OHA development. We have grants by strategic priority, and we also have grants by organization. You probably can see it. SharePoint did a good job, and can be drilled down. This is by organization. You can see DLNR has the most share of our grants. With that, I'm taking any question you might have. Yes.
So I see that your data table is in the PDF format. Now, PDF is a binary format, and depending on how the data is, if it's photocopied or just typed in, would it be possible for you guys to provide the data in CSV format?
Good question. Actually, I post the Excel format of the data to Slack, the contact Slack website. So you can also come over to me. I have hard copies of the data.
Okay.
Thank you. No more question? Yeah. Please see me afterwards if you have any questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Tiger. All right. To introduce our next challenge presenter, I'd like to welcome to the stage, well, first, as of this upcoming week, she is the dance coach for Bert and I, because we need help. We really do. She is also an economic development specialist at a great organization, the now Hawaii Technology Development Corporation. Please welcome to the stage, Cindy Matsuki.
said, I'm Cindy Matsuki with the HDDC, the new Hawaii Technology Development Corporation, and we're proud to sponsor Hack 17. Look at this awesome turnout. It's such a great place to build the innovation and tech community. So we're super happy to sponsor this event. And it's my honor to introduce Scott Derrickson, Staff Planner with the Department of Business, Economic Development and Tourism, Land Use Commission. His challenge is to find a way to access and manage incoming information and to report, chart, and visualize collected data. Scott?
Aloha Wakia Kaku. I'm Scott Derrickson. I'm a senior planner with the State Land Use Commission. 9 members of the public, unpaid volunteers, appointed by the governor and confirmed by the Senate, working with a staff of 5. Since 1961, the LUC has been the first of its kind nationwide to classify all the lands within a state into districts based on their resources and development potential. The location, the pace, the process of development in Hawaii affects everybody in this room and will continue to affect them into the future. Development brings jobs, new housing opportunities, upgraded infrastructure, but it can also bring increased traffic, higher taxes, impacts and access to our beaches, our other natural resources, and impacts to our cultural sites and practices. The LUC has been making these important decisions for over 50 years now, and they continue to wrestle daily with balancing the need for economic development, housing, and jobs with the protection of all the natural and cultural resources that makes Hawaii special. With a small professional staff, there are physical limitations on how many requests for information we're able to handle over the phone, over the counter, by regular or email. By making that process more efficient and user-friendly, with an online service, we potentially can help more people be a part of important decision-making processes that affect their lives. Those decisions made at the LUC affect the future character of Hawaii that all of us are going to live in. We're looking for digital solutions that might make the process easier for the public to get information about the development proposals we deal with, request specific services, or provide us with important information. A part of our mission, an important part of our mission, is to make all of that information that's considered by the Land Use Commission in making development decisions available and accessible to the public in a format and in a way that allows them to provide input before those decisions are made. Making that information accessible to the public, businesses, and government agencies in near real time so that they can provide their voices and ensure the best information is used by the Land Use Commission to make those difficult decisions. We're asking for help in finding solutions that can guide interested parties or members of the public with simple series of questions to request services or provide information to the Commission regarding ongoing development proposals. We have a certain level of technical expertise on staff, but we readily admit we're way out of our league, and our ability to figure out or even create the possible solutions for our workflow processes. We'd like a website. We already have a website. We'd like to have an application on our website to help people request information, to submit public testimony, or to file documents with us. We think the results of that application should be something like no limitation on the public's ability to access our information, provide input, improve the transparency in government decision making, help us make better decisions, and rely on receiving a diversity of information, and help the LUC staff be able to handle more information and requests for services more efficiently so we can assist more people. Ultimately, the public needs to have timely access to the important information. Allow ways for them to make, to ask about and receiving answers before decisions get made. We like you to find ways to help us transform our information clutter into a smarter, smoother process. We hope that some of you out there might be interested in challenging yourselves, in finding more effective ways for the public to access our information and provide input on developments that will affect their lives and yours too. And I got a surprise challenge tagged onto the end. Inspiration last night. Fever dream. Okay. For those of you who are curious about what the Land Use Commission is, what it does, my challenge to you is go up to our website, luc.hawaii.gov. On our homepage, we have a link called Finding Information About Property. We find that a lot of the people that call us or come into us are trying to find information about their property or a property that they're interested in, or where somebody is doing something that they're not sure that they should be able to do. That link has a whole other series of links to information that people can go and help themselves learn about what their property is like, what other properties are like, what can be done, what can't be done. My mystery challenge, I guess, is consider how you could bundle all that information into a self-help application that we could steer people to. We hope that piques your curiosity. At least go up on our website and check it out. And I also challenge you to come sit at our table, or come by at the table at lunchtime and talk to me about it. Mahalo.
Questions? Over there?
So how is this software that you're trying to develop, how will that differ from going to the farm research website, because that gives me my access now,
it gives me the zoning and other things, on things that are still in view that have not been paid. What sort of other information would you like to provide in this?
Okay, I mean, what you just talked about is part of what one of our links goes to city and county, but then we've got people calling from all over the state. City and county has a well-developed site. The other counties not quite as well. Also, there's a lot of people who have land that's in the state agricultural district. They need to know, based on the types of resource classification of their ag parcel, what they can and cannot do, what they might need to get further permits in order to do. So there's a wealth of information out there that we need to steer people to. And right now, people will call, say, over the phone, and we will try to get them up online and walk them through. And you can imagine that takes quite a while. It'd be nice if we have a stepwise series of questions that leads people into helping themselves locate information about their property. And then if they still need to ask us for something specific, that at least helps further identify what it is they're asking us.
So kind of the goal to summarize it is
Fairly easily accessible and easily understandable data for people looking at these parcels, land parcels.
Yes, and we already have some web applications that tap into our GIS system to help people, but I think we need to have it in a more easy to understand format to get them to that place first.
All right, thank you.
One more question. As you can see, you can now get close to Todd if you raise your hand to ask a question. Anybody? All right, thank you very much. Thank you, Scott. I mean, it's amazing, such important work done by a volunteer commission and 5 staffers. And some of the biggest decisions that we have to make as the state. All right, to introduce our next challenge presenter, I'd like to welcome to the stage Ani Menon, Senior Associate of KPMG. Welcome to the stage.
Hello everyone, I'm Ani Menon with KPMG. I am so excited to be here today, and we are thrilled to be sponsors of this event for the second year in a row. Hawaii has been my home for the past 20 years, and as an organization, KPMG is committed to tackling the challenges that our state government faces. This year, in collaboration with eWorld, we have formed the High Tech Ohana Initiative. It's an alliance of technology leaders in Hawaii who want to work together to create a positive impact on our communities. So please come see us at our booth if you want to learn more. We'd be happy to talk to you all. Now, I want to introduce Scott Glenn from the Department of the Attorney General. He's the Director of the Office of Environmental Quality Control to represent their challenge. And it's to make our Hawaii revised statutes more searchable and reader-friendly. So Scott, if you can please join me up here.
Aloha everyone. So thank you for coming today. I'm with the Office of Environmental Quality Control. We're part of the Department of Health, and we're working with the Department of the Attorney General to see about trying to get our Hawaii revised statutes into your fingers and make them searchable and more easily able to share. So, you know, Hawaii is pushing for renewable energy, and you might have heard the question every once in a while, what about nuclear power? Why don't we build that? And maybe you've heard the response, which is it's illegal. So can I just ask how many people think building nuclear power in Hawaii is illegal? Please raise your hand. So how would you go to answer that question? Probably go to Google, right? And you would search, and the first page of results from Google would give you 3 different answers. It's illegal, it's legal, it's complicated. So if you really wanted to know the answer, you would go to one of these. You'd pull up the Hawaii Revised Statutes. And this is not that volume, actually. This is volume 19. So there's a lot of these out there. There's a lot of laws, and there's more every year. And what this would tell you is that nuclear power is in the state constitution as not allowed unless there is a 3/5 or 2/3 vote, maybe 3/5 vote by each chamber of the House. So that's how you know the answer, but you'd have to look it up in paper or find some other way to do it. The statutes touch us in many different ways, and in surprising ways sometimes. If you go hiking to the woods, you might see something like this. If you know where the sign is from, this is the Haiku Stairs sign, which is in the public right now, trying to figure out what to do about that. And if you notice, right there, it's citing the statutes, and it's telling you if you go past this sign, you can be arrested, and you will be penalized under that statute. So if you're a hiker, and this isn't really helping you very much, right? So you don't have one of these handy when you come across that sign. You don't know what it really means. You're probably not even going to remember those numbers by the time you get back. And if you take a picture of the sign, and when you get back home, you're probably too busy looking at all your nature pictures to remember that you trespassed, and that was the statute you're going to be criminally punished for. Similarly, if you have been following anything about legalization questions, this was put out recently, and to call your attention to this, we recently enacted this law to change the word from marijuana to cannabis throughout the statutes. So how would you go to check that all of the instances of marijuana got changed to cannabis? You guys ready to go through every volume of the Hawaii Revised Statutes?
Control F.
Right.
It works great with paper. Or how many people out here have your own business or hope to start your business? If you've ever sat down to go through your tax forms, you'll randomly come across these little things once in a while that'll say, which part of the HRS are you claiming your exemption under? Well, if you don't know offhand, you're in for a world of looking around and trying to figure it out. You could Google it and you'll get a lot of advice and interpretations of it. But what if you want to see the actual wording for yourself? That's the question. Similarly, we have a lot of development that happens throughout the state and a lot of uses of our environmental natural resources. And one of the roles of my office is to publish environmental impact statements. Have you guys ever heard of those? You know what those are? Yeah. They're documents that are about 1,000 pages, 5,000 pages long, and they analyze all of these different statutes across the state for what the environmental impacts might be. So things like Kaka'ako, where we're doing redevelopment there, and this is a state agency that's overseeing this. Or the rail, for example. One of the big questions about rail that's going on at the legislature right now is, what about the EIS that they did several years ago? These are all things that come up, and in the law that creates the EIS system, it says, hey, in looking at all the environmental impacts, you've got to look at all of these other laws. And so planners, architects, engineers, the general public who wants to comment on it and make sure that you did look at that law all need to be able to go check the law and find out, did you actually look at it or not? So there's constant interactions with the statutes that shape our lives, and we need to be able to pull them up when we need them in the moment. So the good news is the Hawaii State Legislature has done the heavy lift already. They've digitized the Hawaii Revised Statutes. They live online here, and the most bare bones tree structure data organization you can get. So if you wanted to go look at the laws, you first have to know your chapter number, or your volume, and then your chapter, and then your section, and then you actually get to the law. And when you want to go to the next section, you got to click next, and it'll take you to 343-2. But if you want to go check out 342, you got to go back up, click 342, and then down and down. And if you want to go to 341, back up. And if you need to go to 42, you need to go back up to there. So you have to do a whole lot of up and down moving through the statutes. So what we'd like to do is ask for your help to bring this, to make it on your phone, searchable, and you can access it easily, you can navigate it easily, and you can also share it. You know, how satisfying is it when someone tells you, you know what, I think that's illegal, and you say, no, 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 it's not, just a second. It says it right here. Oh, you don't believe me? Here, I'm just gonna text it to you. Here you go. Now you can read it for yourself. So that's what we'd like to ask your help with, is how do we move this into something that enhances public involvement and participation in our legal process and our understanding of our laws so that we can better take care of our environment. And we'd like to ask your help with maybe starting with our environmental laws, because the HRS is enormous and it might be a lot to fight off in one go. But we'd like to work with you, and if you have further questions, we're happy to answer them, and later today too. Thank you.
So, you know, something like the HRS can be, I guess, a lot of legalese. Would you want, you know, some kind of automated interpretation system for it too?
Lawyers don't even like to speculate on what the words mean. So probably not at this point. Maybe just a straight search, text search.
And also, would you want it, you know, I guess, accessible through an API of some sort?
That would be great.
Okay.
So, to your point, you don't want the legalese translators, but I think you're going to need some way to apply tagging to the statute so that people have a real world, plain English way to link HRSs together. So that may be something to think about in lieu of a renormalization or plain English translation, a way to correlate the HRSs together.
That'd be great. Tagging, bookmarking, some way to help them organize and make sense of what they're looking at.
Something that's very common in the public sector is a scoring method where people can apply scores or ratings for specific HRS statutes and so forth. Is that also something you would want built into this with previous searches, archives, so you can see how other people are searching that data?
That would be, I think, interesting to the public and probably our legislature as well to know how well they're doing with their language.
So I just had a comment here. This was my pitch last year as an independent project. So anybody interested in doing this, I'm going to continue on this. It's HRS.plus, it's a mobile application with the Hawaii Revised Statutes. It's great, and so I have all the data being processed. It's on GitHub. Well, just that I've mirrored the Capitol's website on GitHub. So if you're interested in this project,
Great,
talk
let's
to me,
chat.
because
Yeah.
I've gone through quite a bit of the issues, because that data, although it's available, is not very clean still. So yeah, just come talk to me. You can also pull out your phone and go to HRS.plus. It's the website name. Check it out.
Okay, great, thank you.
Thank you, McKay. Thank you, Scott. You know, I met Scott a couple of years ago, and this was his dream then. And I love that McKay already proposed or wanted to attack the problem himself. So, excellent. All right. So to present our next department challenge, I'd like to bring to the stage Nick Dang. He's the development analyst for Hawaiian Electric.
Good morning. My name is Nicholas Dang. I work for Hawaiian Electric. At Hawaiian Electric, I am a development analyst, as you said. In my position, I get to explore new technologies and utilize them to create new applications or upgrade applications, sort of like what you guys are doing today, or you're here for. Some of the most recent applications that I've done, you might have heard of, is the online outage map and the newly released Hawaiian Electric mobile app. If you haven't downloaded it, please download it now or today. Hawaiian Electric is pleased to sponsor the PAC 2017, as we also support technology, innovation, and collaboration to achieve 100% clean energy for Hawaii. It is an honor to introduce Chelsea Harder of Aloha Plus, Challenge Dashboard Coordinator with Hawaii Green Growth. Her challenge is to create interactive features to drive action and capture statewide efforts on the Aloha Plus Challenge sustainability goals.
Aloha, everyone. My name is Chelsea Harder, and I'm the Sustainability Dashboard Coordinator for Hawaii Green Growth. So, our world is constantly changing, whether that be social, economic, or environmental issues. And to thrive, we need to be adaptive, resilient, sustainable. But what does sustainability mean anyway? It's a holistic approach to create conditions for all life to thrive. Not just now, but into the future. We're located in a hotspot in the middle of the Pacific Ocean. We're one of the most isolated places in the world, and that makes us a hotspot for sustainability. Being an island state, we quickly see the impacts of decisions, policies, and initiatives that are implemented here. And we have a wealth of natural resources, strong communities, practitioners, and leadership. And we have history. Hawaii's history of system thinking and ancestral knowledge are the bedrock of sustainability. We in Hawaii have the opportunity to be a global leader in sustainability and a model for a thriving future. And the world is watching. So the key to a sustainable future is collaboration and collective impact. So back in 2011, on the shoulders of APEC, the Asia Pacific Economic Cooperation, leadership from across sectors in Hawaii came together and recognized that people and organizations were doing great things for sustainability, but that we could do so much more together. That's when Hawaii Green Growth formed, a public-private partnership that catalyzes action across government, the private sector, and civil society. Through this partnership launched the Aloha Plus Challenge, a joint leadership commitment by the governor, the 4 county mayors, Office of Hawaiian Affairs, and the state legislature to achieve Hawaii's integrated sustainability goals by 2030. So what the Aloha Plus Challenge does is we capture and reflect a snapshot for sustainability essential. There we go. There we go. Sorry about that. So we capture and reflect a snapshot of sustainability. So we're a one-stop shop that is located on the open data platform, our state.gov website, called the Aloha Plus Challenge Dashboard. So it serves as a mechanism to track progress and provide transparency and accountability for our 2030 sustainability goals. And we measure what matters. So Hawaii Green Growth's role is to convene stakeholders and leadership and experts to develop these goals and to create a narrative, metrics, and public resources so that we can see how we're doing on these goals. But you may wonder, what is the community's role in this? This was designed for decision makers and practitioners and leadership. But in order to have a collective impact, we need to all be in it together. So let's say you participate in, let's say, a beach cleanup and divert hundreds of pounds of trash from our beautiful beaches. Or let's say you bike to work every week, and that week you will reduce 20 gallons of fuel dependency. Or if you go to your neighborhood farmer's market and support local farmers and local ag. Or if you have a garden. If you have a garden in your home that maybe supports your family or schools or your communities. There are great things being done, and how do we capture and reflect that on our dashboard? We have a great opportunity because there's so much visibility there. How do we celebrate the actions of those communities? So if we could highlight those efforts for different communities, what would that mean? It would be threefold. So communities could work together and share their voice. We could build Keiki, where schools would use this platform to leverage community data for place-based learning and real-life projects. And individuals can see how they're moving the dial on sustainability. All of these actions could feed into the Aloha Plus Challenge dashboard and highlight how Hawaii is leading the way for sustainability nationally and internationally. It is in all of our best interests to preserve this beautiful place where we live for generations to come. Let's work together and involve everyone in the solution for a thriving future for Hawaii and be a model for the rest of the world. Thank you.
Any questions?
Are you just trying to look for an app to put information in?
Yes, so on our dashboard, So on our dashboard, each of the goals has the goal and different targets. I can go back to one of the slides. And yes, some place on the platform to highlight where that's done. So for instance, this is one of our goals represented by different targets and metrics. So where could community data fit in? Would that be integrated into the goals and targets, or would that be like a separate portal that would be plugged into that? So looking for ways to really visualize that data and highlight what the communities are doing.
Thank you.
One back here. So let's say, for example, if I bike to work today, how do I get that data here? Or do I, can I?
So that's a great question. So that's the challenge. So I biked here today too. So could there be some place on my mobile phone where I get here and I'd say this is how many miles I biked, and then would it feed up into maybe our transportation target, so reducing our fuel dependency?
Perfect, thank you.
Run. So is this mostly a sort of tracking the progress of the sustainability goals that the state has, or so if that's the case, then would it be more like a project management type of tool where you also have things like works in progress from certain like job in progress reports or things like that, where you can see how the construction of maybe some sort of renewable energy project is going?
Right, so that work is being taken place at the kind of mid to high level, but we're really looking to engage community to feed in their data as well. So what's being done on the ground that may not be captured by any sort of mechanism or organization.
Anyone else? All right, thank you very much. All right, I'd like to bring up to introduce our next department challenge, another valued sponsor, and as you heard earlier this evening, a sponsor that in fact helped inspire this very event. So please join me in welcoming to the stage Stephen Shetty, Government Account Manager over at Verizon.
And just like a coder, I sneak up on Ryan and doesn't even know where I am. So very nice to see everyone this morning. My name is Stephen Shetty. I'm the Government Account Manager for the state of Hawaii. I take care of state and local government as well as nonprofit organizations. I'm very happy to be supporting this event for the second year. I'd also like to extend a special aloha from our executive leadership team, our Chairman Lowell McAdam, President Ronan Dunn, Vice President Tammy Irwin, and our executive leadership on the West Coast, Pacific Market President Jonathan Lecomte, and also Hawaii President Erwin Sianko. Now, the reason why I mention these leaders, because these leaders enabled us here locally at Verizon Hawaii to support events like this, to give you the opportunity to help improve productivity, strengthen security, and overall improve images for our state agencies here. Now, with Verizon, we are America's largest, most reliable 4G LTE network. With that comes the commitment that we will continue to evolve with the needs of the community and all of our end users. What this means is that as a technology company, we're doing things amazing that we never thought possible a few years ago. For state agencies, we're able to wirelessly connect our tsunami warning system, our siren system. We can do remote cameras deployed out in our state's most popular hiking trails, have remote cameras monitor highway traffic, as well as our airports and our harbors. In the counties, now everyone here can agree, the state of Hawaii has the 4 most unique, most diverse counties in the entire United States. With that, Verizon is committed and will be building out a dedicated public safety core network that will allow first responders, such as police, fire, EMS, and ocean safety, to have a network that will be able to respond to needs of the community in a fast, reliable, and interoperable way. For companies, we can do plug-in devices to vehicles. It can now monitor GPS and also provide vehicle diagnostics and improve dispatching. For companies, you can do point-of-sale systems. You can also do routers to improve business continuity. So with all these things considered, Verizon is committed to making sure that we provide a comprehensive network and reliable service to all of our end users. We've been recognized by Homeland Magazine as Hawaii's best wireless carrier, and also nationally by J.D. Power and Associates, as well as RootMetrics for having the best network. And for me, being a Kama'aina for X number of years, I will have to say that I am proud to work for Verizon and very happy to be able to support the community and the state of Hawaii, and to be able to provide all of our end users with the opportunity to have a fun and exciting wireless experience. Now, without further ado, I'd like to invite up an exciting department, has divisions such as insurance, financial institutions, and the consumer advocate, but more importantly, this particular division is going to help improve connectivity for everyone in the state of Hawaii. So without further ado, I'd like to bring up the Department of Consumer and Commerce Affairs Broadband Division.
Good morning, everyone. We're here today to represent the Department of Commerce and Consumer Affairs. I'm Debbie Shin, and my partner here on the same team is Jeremy Aoyagi. We both work in the broadband section of the cable television division, and that's what broadband is all about here today, so that's our topic. Here today also, I want to recognize our cable television administrator, Lisa Kim, who's sitting back there, and she's here to give us moral support too. So our duties include activities to facilitate access to affordable broadband services statewide, with special focus on unserved and underserved areas in the state. The intent of our proposed application, High-Speed NAPIT, is to encourage the public's participation to help us in gathering as much data as possible on speeds and internet access in all locations in the state of Hawaii. The end goal is continual improvement of broadband access in our state. Now, some of you may not remember this, but broadband started this way. Remember this? For most of us, this is a distant memory. Honestly, some of you have not even seen that black thing over there. That's a telephone. Okay? And at that time, it took 5 minutes to get onto the internet and download a single non-high def photo. Honest. And now we can just click and off it goes. So for some residents in Hawaii, this happens daily. It's a reality. Okay, for others, worst of all, some residents in our state of Hawaii have no home internet access at all. Okay, what does this mean? For those with no internet access, for some of us, it means, no Netflix, no web surfing, no Amazon shopping, no gaming, you know, but the bigger problem is that lack of access to the internet impacts education. It impacts the work, the business, and no communications to the rest of the world during outages, disasters, and disaster recovery. So it is quite important, as we all know, to have broadband. So how can we fix the problem, everyone here, of low internet speeds or no internet access at all, unless we know where these locations are? So we gotta know where they are to fix it. Much of the internet speed and accessibility data that private and government entities have collected through past and ongoing initiatives and speed tests cannot be presented to the public, like you, in great detail because there's restrictions, and rightfully so, on privacy and control of privacy and personal and business confidentiality. So you take those tests, but you don't always get to see the results and on a map. For example, here's one type of map that our group has now. Federal Communications Commission creates a map that is available online for us and for you, and that shows internet access across the state. The map is not updated real time and is based upon information submitted by vendors or various broadband providers. Some of the limitations of this data is that it's wireline. It provides advertised speeds, but not really the speeds you're getting at your home. It also maps data at a census block level. And that's the key problem that we see here, is that it's like a toggle, either yellow or blue. So if one entire census block, one person in there has internet access, then the whole block is painted one color, blue. But that doesn't mean that everybody in that block has internet access, right? There's pockets, as we all know, and so it's not a very good map for us to find out who really has the problems. The map that we'd like to have, with the help of you hopefully, is that we want all of the results of the participants who play with the app that you're going to design. We want to aggregate it. We want to show it on a map. And it'll also link to the FCC data, which we already have. But unlike the maps that we have now, notice that it'll have many colors. It could have more information on fixed broadband or no fixed broadband, but also it'll provide more information on the speeds and what the public's actually testing using their app and getting to put their little dot on the map. So what we need from you out there, all the brains out there, is we challenge you to design an enticing, easy to use app that will want everyone in our state to participate. Any age, any place in Hawaii. We want something that will catch on, like Pokemon Go, and that everyone wants to participate to help collect this data for us. It'll just be able to have them test and then see their results immediately on a phone or at their home computer. If you are maybe there's not any here, but there's people that really don't have internet access and at your home, so you can stand anywhere else where there is internet access and report that your particular residence or address doesn't have it. And we want that dot to go on the map too. And in the future, we want people to keep using this app so that we can see ongoing progress over time. Again, the people who will benefit from high-speed Map-It is everyone. It'll allow policymakers, providers, and customers, and the public to really see the specific served and underserved areas on the map, so that they may create better programs and policies that focus on those areas to bridge what we call the digital divide. Okay, the goal is internet speeds like this, and not like this. Okay, so here's our challenge to you. We just want you to design an app for us that fits our needs. We have a lot of data or metadata samples that you'll be able to see through this challenge. I think it's going to be posted, and you can talk to us after as well. Even the logo that we came up with, it's actually yours if you want to dream up something better or change the name to make it more catchy. But we really hope that you pick our challenge to work on, and we look forward to working with all of you throughout this next month. Thank you.
Very sorry. I'm a Spectrum intern, and I can say on behalf of my company that we have services that cater to low-income residents. Would you want links to advertise to those types of services, whether regardless of whether it's with Spectrum or with Hawaiian Telecom, etc.?
I think that Spectrum and everybody else does report to the FCC their service and their advertised feeds. Tell me if I got you right. And so they do report it, and it shows up on that map, the first one we showed. But what we want with this app is for the people of Hawaii to take speed tests, and then that speed test data of what they're actually getting is going to pop up, or we're going to aggregate it and show it on a map that combines everything. So we got the maps from the providers, but now we want the actual speeds from the people who participate.
Follow up on your question too. I think the plan is to have this on our website, so that could be a conversation in the future to have, I guess, more links to programs aimed at that, either through provider or through the state.
Now, are you guys? So what about falsified data? Like false reports of data and stuff. I mean, that that my company is alleged to be doing.
Our challenge of this app is really to have you hackers design it so that when the data comes in, that it's going to look at whether it's a robot or whatever, CAPTCHA, whatever, so that when we get the data, before it pops up for the public to see, we are going to hope that programs take care of that, as well as we get to look at it and say, why are there 1,000 tests taken off this one spot? Maybe we'll just take one of that as a data point.
So that was something we're planning on asking for.
Yes. Wow, there's a lot of
Do you want time limited data? Because at my house, if I try and get on the internet at 6 p.m., it's really slow. But if I go on at 10 a.m., it's fine.
Yeah, that's fine. We want anything. Anytime, you want to take more than one test, we do want it. Because if there ends up that there's metadata that's identical, maybe those speeds will be averaged. But we do want you to not just say, oh, I want to take it at this time. We want to welcome all the data and all the locations.
Map it so that it shows
Yeah.
the different
So
time.
metrics for that, I think, would be open to suggestions.
Yeah, as part of, if you're a hacker and you want to figure that in, we don't want to design that part for you guys. We want it to be flexible, and you can figure out what's the best way to actually show that on the map.
One more question?
When you say aggregated data, how are you envisioning that being aggregated? It's already by FCC being aggregated by census block, the same kind of thing?
Well, the aggregated data is that we're going to show, for example, in a census block, if there are 20 reports of no service, we want to at least say that there were 20 reports, 100 reports in that one census block. But in addition, we have the raw data, which will go into a database that we will have access to so that we know exactly where those points are. We still have to protect the privacy of the test takers, so we cannot be publishing exact raw data as it is at the person's house. Yes.
All right.
Well, to address your concern regarding the FCC, I think that's advertised peak data. So what we're trying to advocate is the actual data.
In the same geography.
Yeah, the same geography.
Thank you very, very much. And of course, you will be able to meet with them during our lunch to get more information. Thank you. Great questions, great thoughts, including from currently and fully happily employed intern of Spectrum. All right. It's again my pleasure to bring up to the stage another valued sponsor of this event. Great to meet him early this morning, in fact, from Pacific Point, specializing in Salesforce. Please welcome to the stage Area Account Manager Bob Mueller.
Aloha. On the way coming over here today, I was Ubering over, and the Uber driver, as he's dropping me off on the campus here, he looks at me and he goes, "So you're teaching a cooking class today?" And I said, "No, I'm not Gordon Ramsay. My name is Bob Mueller." So, with that said, I'm also joined by Mike Salem in the back. Mike, if you want to wave. Charles, if you want to wave as well at Pacific Point. Charles Bowen, our valued partner here on the island. So again, I'm with Salesforce, and we're proud to be here. A lot of you may know Salesforce as a CRM company. The C also is constituent or citizen, and that's the important part of why we're working with Todd and the ETS organization to really bridge that gap between what the state's doing and what ETS is doing as an organization and your departments here, to really connect the citizens through portals, which we call communities. And the idea there is really to improve the quality of life. And so because of CRM, that's also sort of the foundation for us to develop an application development platform. And so one of the things that we'll be focusing on with you all, and look forward to talking with you offline, is a week from today we'll be doing a workshop on how to develop applications on the Salesforce platform. It can be done literally in hours, as opposed to taking days or months. And so we challenge you, and the one word I will leave with you before I introduce our next department is trailhead. I offer all of you to please go to salesforce.trailhead.com and take a look around what we have to offer in terms of application development. So, with that said, I want to introduce the Office of Elections. Elections have become pretty much a focal point in the news these days. You hear about it a lot. It's a very important, obviously it's the democratic principle which we're founded on. So the Office of Elections is looking for a way, and this is their challenge, to be able to communicate and schedule volunteers for election day activities. So we want to see if we can develop an application to focus on that. And let me welcome to the stage Raul Ruiz and Amalili Ten, who will be here to talk about their challenge specifically for that particular use case. So thank you very much.
Hello, everyone.
As Bob just mentioned, my name is Aliki, and this is Roel, and we're from the Office of Elections. We're very excited to be here today to be a part of this year's Code Challenge. It's our first time. So we're all civic-minded people here. We're all engaged in the process. We're all voters.
Yes.
And some of us vote by mail. Some of us vote at an early walk-in voting location. But a lot of us still vote at our polling place on election day.
That's right, and one of the things that affects the experience at a polling place is a fully staffed polling place. And for us, that means recruiting election day workers. And now our workers are actually volunteers from the community, and we rely on more than 4,000 for each election. Now, why so many? Well, they need to staff more than 200 polling places, 4 control centers, 4 counting centers, as well as hundreds of delivery collection routes statewide.
And every year it's getting more difficult and more time consuming to connect with each of our volunteers. So let's show them a call.
Okay.
Ring, ring.
Hello.
Hi, this is Aliki calling from the Office of Elections. We received your online intake that you would like to volunteer for the 2018 elections. Do you have a moment to schedule a training?
Yeah, sure.
Okay, great. So based on your desired work area, we have 6 different training dates available.
Okay.
Would a weekday or a weekend work better for you? On the weekday, training starts at 6:30. On the weekend, training starts at 9. Which do you prefer?
I think a weekend would work out better for me.
Great, thank you for helping me narrow that down. So we have 2 dates coming up. This coming Saturday or the following Saturday. Would either of those work for you?
Well, I think I'm actually busy on both of those days. Do you have any other dates available?
Yeah, of course. We have lots of training dates available, and we're just trying to get you scheduled. So I'm not sure, are you able to drive to a different location? Or can you, like, maybe come on a weekday?
No. You know what? I'm at work right now. Can I call you back?
Yeah, sure, of course. Our number here is 453-8683, and our office hours are 7:45 to 4:30. So if you could please give us a call back, we'll get you scheduled for your training.
Okay, sure. I'll call you back. Thanks.
Thank you. Bye.
Yeah, I'm not going to call you back. Actually, when I do have time to call you back, it'll be after work. You probably won't be in the office anyway.
Yes, I'll probably be at one of those trainings that you cannot attend.
Makes sense.
So hopefully that demonstrated to you guys how difficult this process can be and why we need to find a better way. So what we need is a quick, convenient way to get a volunteer signed up, their training scheduled, and provide email reminders, or any kinds of reminders actually, about their training date and training location, as well as the election dates, because that's when we need them the most.
That's right. I mean, we don't want to lose potential volunteers to something like phone tag. You know, our volunteers are very important to us. They're critical to running the elections. And if our polling places are fully staffed, that means a smoother voting experience for everyone. The volunteers help the voters through the process on election day. And if we don't have enough workers, it could mean longer wait times. It could lead to further delays with our other procedures down the line. And you know, we're trying to get the results out for everybody on election night. And we don't want anything to get into the way of that.
That's right. We all know that you guys are just waiting for us to get out those results. So that's why we're here today. That's why we need your guys' help. Helping us helps you on election day. Don't be like this guy. Call us back. Thank you.
Thank you. Question.
That would be a really cool app, just saying. I have a question actually. So how do you guys plan to like address with this app, like people who aren't technologically savvy, like a lot of the volunteers that are out there running?
A lot of our volunteers actually currently sign up online, so they just put in their information and then we do that call back that you just saw. So we don't, and we would post it on our website, and we also connect with our volunteers that have worked in previous elections by just sending them a letter or email. So we get enough traffic.
So after the training for the people, what's the process of scheduling people at election centers? Is it like they choose, well, I'd like to work at these 3, and then you guys have administrators that go through and list that? What's that process?
So it's kind of like when you sign up, you put in your information, you can pick a desired work area, and we go through and kind of assign you to that location based on the availability or your interest. Like if someone in the counting center is full, we would redirect them somewhere else. And then at the training, their location, work area location is already determined.
And then there's a confirmation process, and then that's it?
Yes.
Thank you.
I had a similar question. Is this a one-time thing? The person goes to the website or the app, they put in their information to sign up, and then they pick a location that is like corresponds to the training they need? Or is there some interface on your behalf in between that, where you verify them and then you send them an email or a text or something saying, hey, you're approved, go here to sign up and pick your locations?
I think we're open to either way, where it's just open to everyone and they can pick their training date or narrowing it down.
All right, thank you very much. Speaking of elections, and you might have seen there was some sensitivity in terms of being among the country's 10 most handsome CIOs. And I can confess now that part of it is that there is a contested election. And coming up to introduce a potential addition to that list of most handsome CIOs, I would like to introduce a value sponsor for our last presenter. Please welcome to the stage Stacy Clayton, who's the Executive Strategy Consultant for Kamehameha Schools.
Aloha mai kākou. As they just mentioned, I am Stacy Clayton, and I'm with Kamehameha Schools. And we are excited to be a sponsor of the Hawaii Annual Code Challenge. This is our first time sponsoring the event, but not the first time being at the event. And I'll tell you a little bit about that in a moment. But we're really proud to be supporting HAG 17 because we are really invested in the state of Hawaii's innovation, technology, and entrepreneurship community. And so much so that last year, we had a team from KS Kapalama join the competition, and they actually walked away as the winners of the high school category. And it's really important for us to have opportunities like this challenge for high schoolers to be involved, because they're going to be the ones that are going to shape the innovation ecosystem here in Hawaii. So mahalo to the sponsors and the coordinators of this event, because it's really important that we have numerous opportunities throughout the year for our haumana to be participating and honing their skills and talents and really being contributors to the community and being problem solvers and leaders and making sure that we're constantly evolving as a state. So mahalo for that. It's my great honor to introduce to you a post-high partner for Kamehameha Schools, and it's the University of Hawaii. And I'd like to invite up to the stage Garrett Yoshimi, Vice President for Information Technology and Chief Information Officer for the University of Hawaii. His challenge to the group is to develop an API that can create preferred mapping locations to enhance Google Maps for geographically distributed businesses and organizations that have multiple points of interest. So please welcome Garrett to the stage.
Thanks, Ray. I really appreciate it. But Todd and I, where's Todd? He's hiding us. Todd and I already have an agreement. The handsome one is over there. I'm the old one. So as background, I wrote my first COBOL program 47 years ago. That program created an endless loop that caused paper to spew out of an IBM 360/30 that my dad let me use, so I didn't want to out him too early. The next program I wrote was a Fortran program to play blackjack on a data analytics machine for a defense contractor. Yeah, so I have a little bit of skills, but the stuff that we're going to ask for, there's a lot of great pitches from the different departmental sponsors today. I would highly encourage you guys to play ball with them, and looking out at the huge crowd, I'm really, really happy to see this kind of participation in the second annual PAP, second of many to come. Thank you, Governor. Thank you, Richard. Appreciate it. And of course, the handsome CIO, Todd, our sponsor. So let me drop into it really quick. So a couple of guys talked about using Google Maps to get here. How many of you first time to UH campus? Okay, first timers here. For those of you that have been here before, remember the first time you came here, if you didn't have a paper map in your hand, it's pretty hard to figure out, okay, how am I going to get to the Student Services Center? How am I going to get to the bookstore? It's someplace on the map. You had this big thing. So for us, for some of us that are old enough, paper map, big thing folded out. You guys kind of traced it before you got here to figure out how you would get there once you arrived on campus. So while there's a lot of technology available to us to help us navigate our way around the world, and in particular around large campuses. It's not always that easy. So this is the typical picture. So for those of us that are trying to get to someplace, a new campus in a new city, someplace we haven't been before, start the navigation thing, get it running. Hopefully we get a result like this where you got happy people, you figured out where you wanted to go, you got to the place you wanted to be. But often, so for those of you that have been here for the first time today, or for those of you that remember coming for your first time, you get something like this. So this is Google Maps. This is the actual Google Maps shot of the University of Hawaii at Manoa. This is the satellite view, not the map view, but the satellite view. So it's pretty cool. You can kind of sort of figure out where you want to go if you already know, or if somebody kind of helped you along the way, but not necessarily. A couple of examples. If you tried to, and again, these are real Google Maps examples. I did this past week, so these are current. If you tried to search for driving directions to University of Hawaii system, this is the pin you'll get. By the way, that's the art building in the middle of campus. If you tried to look for Bachman Hall, which is the location of many of our executives, it's the location of the president's office, not only will you not get a direct hit to Bachman Hall, you'll end up getting UH Foundation, which also happens to be in Bachman Hall, 2444 Dole Street, which is the street address. If you take the driving directions to 2444 Dole Street, that's where you get. You get to the crosswalk that's in front of Bachman Hall. So you're driving there, first time to campus, Google Maps navigation announces you have arrived. Now what? So this is pretty typical. And this is typical of a lot of campuses or a lot of organizations, not just university campuses, which have a lot of buildings clustered in a location, which maybe have, for our commercial friends, have several locations in a town or city spread across multiple buildings across town. You try to figure out where to go, how to get dropped off. You're using Uber or Lyft. By the way, those guys use Google Maps. They've switched on occasion, but I think both of them are actually currently on the Google Maps platform. So it's highly dependent on the data that currently sits in the background. A little bit frustrating. That little square up there is what you'll get if you try to map University of Hawaii at Manoa. It's a location in front of Sakamaki Hall, again on Dole Street, although the address is 2500 Campus Road, so you would never know. And we've gotten these comments on several occasions, hey, I'm trying to visit your campus. I get parents showing up on campus with their kids who have got admitted. I need to find a student center. And they find campus, but then you got to figure out where to go from there. So what would we like it to be? If you take a look at some of the technologies that are commonly available now, you have a ton of capability that's already built into the technology. Not only can you make Google Maps smarter about where you go, but augmented reality, so this is stealing from Pokemon Go, but augmented reality gives you a way to take a look with your camera and see other points of interest that are currently in your view. It's not rocket science. People have already done this, but this is something that we definitely need help with at the University of Hawaii. Some examples that could pop up, if you're looking for the Chancellor's location in Hawaii Hall, Google Maps Street View will give you the picture of Hawaii Hall, but wouldn't it be nice if it told you this is where the visitor parking is, this is actually Hawaii Hall, and this is where the Chancellor's office is. Chancellor's office is in Suite 301 in Hawaii Hall. I made that up, by the way. If you're looking for Campus Center, if you're looking for the bookstore, if you're looking for the Warrior Rec Center, looking for Starbucks, coming in, again, this is a street view picture right out of Google Maps, but wouldn't it be great is as you're looking at it, the highlighted points of interest can pop up for you. So these are all things we can use from the University of Hawaii's perspective to help you find your way on campus once you get there. Some of the other possibilities, where to eat. Where are the vending machines? I need a soda, I need a Coke, I need a Diet Coke, I need a Diet Coke. Find out where the wireless coverage is. So there's lots of data and metadata already available. But the trick is to get it into some place that's simple and easy to use and easy to access. So that's really the key. And that's the challenge to you folks, to find a way for us to supercharge the stuff that's already available to us and do it in a way such that it's easy to use. For some of us that aren't quite technology challenged, that can easily pull it up on our phones, easily pull it up on our iPads, and then find a way to actually get where you're going without spending the first 30 minutes of your visit trying to find somebody to ask them, where do I go next? So your challenge is the UH map. That's my email address. I'm here for the rest of the day. Come and see me, come visit. I think there's a lot of possibilities here. I like that there's a ton of smart people out in the audience, and I'm absolutely confident that you guys can solve our problem. Thank you.
Thank you. Do you have time for questions? No questions? Oh,
Awesome.
I
Get
see
to
that.
work.
That's no.
So as you're going there, so I advocate to the most handsomest CIO in the back.
So basically, you just want an app where, like an enhanced Google Maps. So if I'm standing in a spot and I pop open Google Map, it's going to just show me what's around me.
Yeah, so if you look at the kind of the stuff that goes on behind it, you need a way to capture the highlighted points of view, the points of interest, figure out a way to get the search to work properly, and then load that behind, and then supplement the Google Maps infrastructure to make those things pop up for us. So you can do it directly on top of Google Maps, because there is a way to currently get more data into the Maps infrastructure. You can also do it as an augmented reality app, where if you drive based on the camera view, so that's the Pokemon Go thing, right? You drive based on the camera view with this metadata in the background, you can actually display points of interest within the view of the camera. It's all location dependent.
Thank you.
You said a lot of the data is available already. Is that aggregated somewhere like a spreadsheet, or is it like a PDF here and a PDF there?
All
Have been identified?
All of the above. So the couple of pieces I showed, the lists of like food trucks on campus, vending machines. We even have an arborist plot of all the trees on campus, so you can identify the particular species of the trees that are sitting on campus. Many of those are in separate databases. Some of them are simply aggregated lists. The Wi-Fi map I showed, that actually comes out of my organization. It's maintained manually by the Wi-Fi engineers.
And just one more separate question. Have you guys reached out to Google themselves to try to see if there's ways that you can adjust that into their system?
Absolutely, yes we have. So so for those of you that don't know, UH is a Google school. So we have actually administrative contact into their back-end infrastructure as well. They pointed us directly to, there is a way to do this on a location by location basis by providing comment back to the Google Maps folks. We were actually looking for a more generic solution where we could pump data through an API back into Google Maps. We believe one exists, but it wasn't quite as obvious as to how we would get there. So therefore the challenge back to you folks to see if there is a better way to do it. If you are successful in getting connections into other parts of the Google infrastructure, I would be more than happy to put our weight to bear to help you have those conversations occur. We would absolutely love to collaborate with any of the teams to make that happen.
Thank you very much. Thank you, guys. So it's 12 o'clock, we're right on schedule, and of course the hit of the day will be lunch. But before we get there, I definitely again want to acknowledge all of you for being here, for sure. Our honored guests, Governor David Ige, Representative Mark Nakashima, and Senator Willis Barrow, and more importantly, a lot of the partners and organizations that help make this possible and help feed you. So, you all have your programs. You can follow along with me. I definitely want to acknowledge our partners, East West Center, for this great venue, PCAT, GitHub, DevLeague, which does so much for us, Accelerate UH, Sultan Ventures, speaking of handsome people, Airship, and Way Open Data, Birdlum. Our bronze sponsors, Oracle, Socrata, and DR Fortress. Our silver sponsors, Revocom. Our gold sponsors, eWorld, Unisys, Adobe, and Transform Hawaii Government. And finally, our platinum sponsors who you heard from throughout the morning, HTDC, Hawaiian Electric, Kaiser Permanente. They weren't able to make it, but I'm a happy customer. BMC, Verizon, Kamehameha Schools, KPMG, and Salesforce, and a local partner, Pacific Point. So, what's going to happen for the rest of the program? First, we're going to eat. While you're down there, we can talk about team formation, start finding the people you want to work with. All of our presenting departments will be there to answer questions and tell you what they have available. Then we're going to move into more programming. Bert Lum will tell you the rules, how the judging will work. Jason will talk about technical review and the code. Cindy will give some tips on being a presenter, and then we're going to move into presentations about tools that you can use, and finally workshops coming up. So still much more to come, but I know you all want to eat, so we can now proceed downstairs to the dining hall to cash in those valuable tickets. Thank you very much once again. We'll see you on the other side.
Mark on the chair, but he wants to get out.
Okay, yeah, we'll let him out. Myself under the chair. That should be good. I'll fight anyone.